Nkechi was the new girl in primary 4 at Bright Star School. She had just moved to Lagos from her village with her mother. They didn't have much, and her mother worked very hard selling vegetables in the market to take care of them. Nkechi was shy and quiet, and her clothes were not as nice as those of the other children. On her first day, she walked into the classroom nervously. Everyone was looking at her. The teacher, Mrs. Adeshino, introduced her to the class. Class, this is Nkechi. Let's all make her feel welcome. Some of the children smiled at her, but others whispered and giggled. Nkechi found an empty seat at the back of the classroom and sat down all alone, hoping the day would go by quickly. During break time, Nkechi sat by herself under a tree. She watched as the other children played and talked in groups. She wished she could join them, but she was too afraid. Suddenly, 3 girls walked up to her. They were Adanna, Chidima, and Ezine, the most popular girls in the class. "Why are you sitting here alone?" Adanna asked with a smirk on her face. "Do you think you are too good for us?" Chidima added, crossing her arms. Nkechi shook her head. "No, I am just new here," she said softly. "Well, you don't look like you belong here," Ezine said, looking at Nkechi's worn-out shoes. The 3 girls laughed and walked away, leaving Nkechi feeling even worse. That night, Nkechi cried her eyes out. "Why don't they like me, mother?" she asked. Her mother hugged her tightly. "Don't worry, my dear. Sometimes people are mean just because they don't understand life. Just be yourself, my dear, and show them your kindness. I'm sure things will get better soon." Nkechi nodded, but she wasn't sure of how soon she would have the chance to show everyone how special she truly was. The days went by, and the bullying didn't stop. Adanna, Chidima, and Ezine would tease Nkechi every chance they got. They called her names like village girl and rag doll because of her old clothes. They even hide her books and lunch sometimes. Nkechi tried her best to ignore them, but it was too hard. She missed her old school and her friends in the village. At Bright Star School, she felt like an outsider. The other children didn't talk to her much because they were afraid of the 3 bullies. One day, during lunch, Nkechi found her lunchbox missing again. She looked everywhere but couldn't find it. With tears in her eyes, she went to sit under her usual tree. As she sat there, hungry and sad, a boy named Tunde came over to her. "Are you okay?" Tunde asked, sitting down beside her. Nkechi shook her head. "They took my lunch again," she said, wiping her tears. Tunde frowned. "Those girls are so mean." "Don't worry, Nkechi. Here, you can have some of my lunch," he said, handing her a sandwich. Nkechi smiled weakly. "Thank you, Tunde," she said. It was the first time anyone had been kind to her since she came to the school. Tunde nodded. "We have to stick together. My friends and I don't like how they treat you. If you need anything, just tell me, okay?" Nkechi felt a little better. Maybe not everyone at the school was bad. She took a bite of the sandwich and thought about what her mother had said. She had to stay strong and show them her true self. That night, Nkechi decided she would not let the bullies get to her anymore. She would find a way to show them and everyone else that she was more than just a poor girl from the village. Nkechi was determined to find a way to stand up to the bullies. She thought about it all night and came up with an idea. She decided that focusing on her studies would show everyone how smart she was. Maybe if she did well in school, the other kids would see her differently. The next day, she went to school with a new attitude. She paid close attention in class and answered questions whenever Mrs. Adeshino asked. Her classmates were surprised to see how much she knew. Even the teacher was impressed. "Very good, Nkechi, you are very smart." Mrs. Adesina said, after Nkechi correctly answered a difficult math problem. Adana, Chidima, and Ezine noticed this too. They didn't like it. They didn't want Nkechi to get any attention. During break time, they came up with a plan to embarrass her. As Nkechi was walking to the library after lunch, the three girls followed her. When she wasn't looking, Adana tripped her and Nkechi fell to the ground. Her books scattered everywhere. Oops, sorry, Nkechi, Adana said, pretending to be concerned. Nkechi felt her face turned red with embarrassment. The other children laughed and she quickly picked up her books and ran into the library. She didn't want anyone to see her crying. In the library, she found a quiet corner and sat down there feeling so sad and angry. Why did they have to be so mean? She wished she could do something to make them stop. Then she remembered her mother's advice. Show them your kindness. Nkechi decided she wouldn't let the bullies change who she was. She would keep being herself and work even harder. Over the next few weeks, Nkechi continued to excel in her studies. She became one of the top students in the class. Mrs. Adesina even gave her a special award for her hard work. Some of the other children started to talk to her more, and Tunde and his friend always made sure she was okay. But Adana, Chidima, and Ezine were not happy about this. They were planning something big, and Nkechi had no idea what was coming her way. One day, Mrs. Adesina announced that there would be a test at the end of the week. It was a very important one because it would determine who would be the top student in the class. Nkechi was so excited and nervous. She wanted to do well and make her mother proud. She studied very hard every night. She read all her books and practiced all her math problems. She knew she could do it if she worked hard enough. Adana, Chidima, and Nazime were not happy about the test because they don't like studying and were afraid that Nkechi would beat them. They decided to make plans to ruin her chances. The night before the test, they sneaked into the classroom and found Nkechi's desk. They took all her books and notes and hid them. They thought this would make it impossible for her to study and do well in the test. The next morning, Nkechi came to school early to do some last-minute studying. When she opened her desk, she was shocked to find that her books were missing. She looked everywhere but couldn't find them. What am I going to do now? She thought, sitting down and holding back her tears. Just then, Tunde walked in and saw her. What's wrong, Nkechi? He asked. My books are gone again. Someone took them, and now I can't study for the test, she said, feeling defeated. Tunde thought for a moment. Don't worry, Nkechi. You've been studying hard every day. You know this stuff now. Just believe in yourself. Nkechi took a deep breath and nodded. You're right, Tunde. I will do my best. When the test started, Nkechi felt nervous but tried to stay calm. She answered each question carefully, remembering all the things she had studied. She didn't let the missing book distract her. After the test, everyone waited anxiously for the results. Mrs. Adesina graded the papers and announced the top student. The top student in our class with the highest score on the test is Nkechi, she said, smiling proudly. Nkechi couldn't believe it. She had done it. She was so happy and proud. The other children clapped for her, and even some of the teachers congratulated her. But Adana, Chidima, and Ezine were furious. Their plan had failed, and they were determined to find another way to bring her down. The following week, Mrs. Adesina announced that the school would be holding a talent show. This is a chance for everyone to show their talent, she said. You can sing, dance, recite a poem, or do something you are good at. Nkechi was excited. Back in her village, she used to sing in her church choir. She loved singing, but she hadn't done it since she moved to Lagos. So she decided she would sing a song in the talent show.